it goes straight to your head and exploded. That's not what leadership is. For a leader to clothe themselves in humility means to stop for a minute, listen to feedback, respect people's opinions, and empower them to make changes, empower them to lead. It's about building them up. You know, what I've learned as a leader is that if no one will follow me, I can't lead. And that's the real truth. I often say that if you think you're leading but no one's following, then you're not leading, you're just going for a walk. Okay? People, in order for you to be a leader, people have to follow you. And the reality is they have to choose to follow you. That is their choice. They don't have to. The worst thing in the world is to follow a person who doesn't inspire you to lead. They only lead by positional leadership. In other words, they're your manager and you have to do what they say, but they don't make it easy on you. So my heart, my goal, and what I hope to grow into, and I get better and better, but I'm far from perfect, is to be the kind of leader that people want to follow. You know, and that applies to every area in life. Be the kind of mom. You know, nobody's kids want to submit to them all the time, but if you have a relationship with your children, if we take time to nurture a relationship and not just rules and not just, you know, so many times I know with me, I can get to where my whole entire life is about making my house function. It's about schedules and calendars and lists and grades and report cards, and our whole family gets into this mode where we're just functioning and talking about how to do what we're going to do. And in that, relationship can get lost, and I can fail to become the kind of parent that my kids want to follow. You know, my kids aren't always going to be obligated to follow me. They're not always going to have to submit to me. They're not always going to have to come visit me and come talk to me and be in my house. So I want to create the kind of relationship that when that obligation is lifted from them, they want to. And that has very much, I always forget to let y'all clap. I'm like, oh, they liked that. That was good. Okay, good. I should stop here. But you know, that has a lot to do with me growing, okay, and taking time to let relationship develop. And it's the same thing with leading in any arena. When people are following me, I always remember this. Their following of me it's a gift that they're giving me. It's not something that I could actually demand of them, especially not in a church context. It's a gift. It's a gift that you're here today. It's a gift that my table leaders serve as table leaders. It's a gift that someone is serving in media. It's a gift that someone is at the front door. It's a gift to me that people will follow my leadership and my vision for sisterhood and place these cards on the tables and then clean them up and make coffee. All of that is a gift. And if I ever start thinking, oh, well, I have such a great, amazing vision to reach the world and to build up women that people should follow me, then all of a sudden, I'm just taking a walk. Because nobody's going to follow me if I'm like that. So I have to, mutual submission is about people under coming up and people over coming down and meeting in a place that makes everybody grow. Doesn't mean there's not defined leadership. It's about closing the gap a little bit, okay? Okay, so the other thing is honor. You can read this in Romans 12:10, and I'm not going to go there and flip there, but what it says in Romans 12:10, it has this verse, this little phrase. It says, try to outdo each other and showing honor. Try to outdo each other in showing honor. You know, one of the characteristics of a culture of humility is that there is so much honor. When people come to our church, other ministers visit it, or people from other churches that are coming to learn, they never go away without saying this: there is such a culture of honor in your church. And that really starts from Stovall, and it goes through our staff. Our staff is so honoring. They have so much honor for you. They have so much honor for us. They create that culture, and then you take it and you run with it, and it just pervades our whole church. You know, the Bible talks about that. Try to outdo each other in showing honor. You know, this reminds me of like when I was in middle school and I would have a little boyfriend and we would be on the phone, and it would come time to hang up, and you'd be like, okay, hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. No, you go first. No, you go first. No, you hang up. That's what reminded me of, like, we were like, okay, I'm not going to be the first one, to hang up. That's kind of how honoring should be. We should be having an honoring contest, like, let me honor you. No, let me honor you. No, let me honor you. No, let me honor. Like, our attitude should be like, we're trying to outdo each other. I want to honor you even more than you honor me. And it doesn't have to be that we do these big grandiose things that are complicated and huge. Sometimes honoring people is simply like, put your phone down while they're talking to you. Sometimes it's simply, oh, you take the better seat. Sometimes it's simply just, I'm just listening to you. Sometimes it's remembering remembering something about them. It doesn't have to be big. Honor is little things. It's little things. So another thing, that honor is another way that you can create a culture of humility. Another thing is servanthood. Servanthood is another aspect of the culture of humility in your house, in your job. What would people think in your work if all of a sudden you showed up and you started serving people? Not weird like washing their feet. Okay, let me tell you, people will freak out and you will be fired. But I'm talking about, I'm going into the kitchen. Can I throw away your coffee cup? I'm going to go ahead and I'll wash your cup for you. I went ahead and filed that for you. Like, what would that do to people? Because our world is not about serving each other. It's about getting what I can get and what you can, also getting from you what I can get. Servanthood, Jesus said, and I'm going to just reference this verse, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. So let's let a culture of servanthood define our lives, dwell in our house. Contentment. Philippians 4:11 through 13, and 1 Timothy 6 through 11. Contentment is also another characteristic of a culture of humility. Why is that? It's because people who are humble know that they're not entitled. When you are humble, you realize that nobody owes you anything. And this is a very different, like, nobody owes me anything and I can do this on my own. It's not that. It's realizing everything that you have in this life is a gift. Everything. Nobody owes it to you to come to your rescue. So when they do, it's a gift. Nobody owes it to me to remember my birthday. So when they do, it's a gift. No one owes it to me to save my seat, open my door, help me with my kids. So when they do, it's a gift. And because you don't have an attitude of entitlement, you know what you can do? You can be content when you don't have, because everything you do have is a gift. That is a culture of humility. Another thing, responsibility for yourself. And in Galatians 6:1 through 5, I do want to just take a few moments to read this, because this is such an interesting little deal that I didn't have room in my notes to print my verses out, so I'm flipping through my Bible old school here. Okay, 6:1 through 5. I just want to read this really quickly. Brethren, even if anyone is caught in any trespass, you are spiritual. Restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness, each one of you looking to yourself, so that you too will not be tempted. Bear one another's burdens and thereby fulfill the law of Christ. For if anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But each one must examine his own work, and then he will have a reason for boasting in regard to himself alone, and not in regard to another, for each one will bear his own load. Now, in these 5 verses, it seems like Paul is talking out of both sides of his mouth, because on the one hand, he's saying, look, if someone's falling, if you're really spiritual, you'll restore them, and when you do this, you bear their burdens, and you're going to fulfill the law of Christ when you bear other people's burdens, and don't think of yourself as too big for this. Don't think of yourself as, don't have a big head. You're not too good to help somebody else. And then he turns around and says, and let each man bear his own load. For only then he won't be able to boast in anyone but Christ. It's like one minute you're saying all of us have to help each other, and the next minute you're saying bear your own load. So what one is it? Now look, the way that we take this apart is this. Paul is speaking to who? He said, you who are spiritual. In other words, those of you who are governed by God, I'm speaking to you. If you're really spiritual, you don't consider it a problem or yourself too big to serve others, but you don't expect others to serve you. You have a strength that enables you to bear your load and the load of others as well. Spiritually mature. And I know that not all of us are there. I know that I wasn't always there. I know that when we're facing crisis, a lot of times we're not there. Paul is not talking to every single believer. He's saying if you're truly mature, this is a goal for you, that your life would be big enough, that your strength would be big enough, that you would be humble enough to use your strength to carry the loads of others. But that is a mark of maturity, to get to that place where your life is big enough and your spirit is strong enough to carry the loads of others, and at the same time not be offended when others don't carry your load for you. It kind of ties back into commitment. And then the final thing is good manners. Very simple. Creating a culture of humility involves good manners. And that does not just mean knowing which one is the shrimp fork, and which one is the dessert spoon, and which one is the water goblet, and which one is the wine goblet. Good manners. Manners evolved based on other things, bigger principles. For example, the idea that your knife blade, when you set the table, turns in towards your plate was created. That table setting was made to show the person sitting next to you that you were their friend and you wouldn't during dinner turn your knife blade out and cut them. In the medieval ages, that was apparently a real problem when you had people into your home. So many of these things that we consider to be manners developed out of very old ethics of friendship and loyalty and love, to be honest. And we need to reclaim that in our own lives. I'm going to read 1 Corinthians 13, 4-5 in the New International Reader's Version because it's very, very clear. I love it. It says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not want what belongs to others. It does not brag. It is not proud. It is not rude. Love is not rude. Simple, but not always easy to do. It doesn't always look out for its own interests. It does not easily become angry. It does not keep track of other people's wrongs. Doesn't that just sound like good manners? I'm nice. I'm patient. When I'm behind you in line at the supermarket and I see you go into the 10-item line and you've got 12 items, I'm like, some people just don't know it's 12 and 10 items. Can you not read? Like, I'm patient. Don't do that. That's not what love does. I have good manners. I have a culture of humility in my life, you know? It's kind, okay? Someone is a yo-yo and they're letting their kid run around the doctor's office, bouncing off the walls, or they're painting their fingernails in the airplane next to you. No, that's ever happened to me. Okay, we're in a closed space, people, not ventilated. Don't paint your nails, all right? You're killing me with your formaldehyde here. But we're kind. We don't say that to them. We think it in our heads. We don't let it come out of the gateway. No. And the goal is to not think it in your head. Then you're really good if you're not thinking it. And I'm not there yet. It doesn't brag. It doesn't have to want, you see that skit on Saturday Night Live, the girl, yeah, so I have a house and it's on the moon. And like the person you're telling like, oh, you won't believe what happened to me. Oh, that's nothing. Listen what happened to me. Just let someone have their moment. You don't have to brag. Don't try to one up. Love doesn't do that. It's not proud. I don't think I'm better than you. It's not rude. You know, sometimes people that say keeping it real, it just means that they really just like to be rude. Keeping it real is not the same as rude. That means it's a lot better than, it can be better than that, okay? It doesn't look out for its own interests. I'm not just trying to zoom through life and do only what I can do. I'm thinking of other people. That's just good manners. Like I'm going into a restaurant. There's a lady behind me who's having trouble walking. I get out of the way. Let her go first. Manners, not me first. That's all it is. Okay, it doesn't become easily angry. I still struggle with this. I can get really easily irritated. I do. I just wish this wasn't a part of who I am. But I can get irritable with people when they're not using common sense. My gosh, I can't even think about it right now. I'm just sliding into sin. Okay, use common sense. But that's not my burden for them to use common sense. My burden is don't get irritated because you need to have good manners. And love doesn't do that. And finally, doesn't keep a track of other people's wrongs. You know, when the girl the woman like, in your group doesn't show up for the 15th week in a row. She shows up late and doesn't have her stuff done and didn't. You know what? I'm just not going to keep going back over and over and over again and rehashing that in my head. I'm just going to have good manners. I'm not going to try to give you the silent treatment and shun you and make you not participate. I'm not going to dwell over it. I'm going to have good manners. Good manners. Imagine good manners. What if we all started having good manners? It would be revolutionary, wouldn't it? Let's start there. Okay, that's the end. I know you have table time, so let's just pray. Father, we thank you so much for your goodness and your mercy on us, God. We put you at the center of our world today. We come under your authority, God. Help us to adjust our thinking to create a culture of humility in this house we are building alongside you. Bless our table time today. Forgive me for going long. In Jesus' name, amen. Sorry, y'all. That worldview thing took me over. Bye, online audience.